I'm 38, married for 11 years, two kids, a life that until recently felt boring in the safest way possible. My wife and I met in our 20s. We grew up together, really. Jobs, mortgages, school drop offs, arguing about groceries. The kind of marriage that doesn't look dramatic from the outside. No screaming fights, no wild passion either. Just routine, stability, trust. Every morning she took our kids to kindergarten. Same schedule, same goodbye kiss, same text around 9 a.m., telling me traffic was awful or that our daughter forgot her backpack again. I never questioned it. Why would I? She was being a mom, a good one. I worked long hours. I told myself that was for the family. She handled mornings. I handled bills. We had our lanes, and we stayed in them. Looking back, that's what scares me most. How normal everything felt. How safe I felt. I used to think cheating happened to other people. Couples with obvious cracks. Not us. We were tired, sure. Less affectionate, but that's marriage, right? That's what everyone says. If someone had told me then that my wife was secretly dating our kid's kindergarten teacher, I would have laughed or gotten angry at the accusation. I trusted her completely. That trust feels stupid now. The first changes were subtle, almost invisible. She started caring more about how she looked in the mornings. New clothes, light makeup even on rushed days. I noticed, but I didn't question it. I thought maybe she was trying to feel better about herself. I encouraged it. God, I encouraged it. She talked about the kindergarten teacher more than seemed necessary. He's great with the kids. He's so patient. He really understands child psychology. I nodded, half listening, scrolling my phone. There were moments when she smiled at messages she wouldn't show me. She'd tilt her phone away without realizing it. When I asked who it was, she'd say, "Just a mom from school," or "group chat stuff." I believed her because believing her was easier than imagining the alternative. There were also tiny emotional shifts. She seemed distracted at home, less present, sometimes irritated by things she used to ignore. I chalked it up to stress, kids, life, aging. I didn't realize she was pulling away because she was already leaning toward someone else. Trust makes you blind, or maybe it makes you lazy. I didn't want to look too closely because nothing was obviously wrong, and that's how betrayal grows. Quietly, right in front of you. There were red flags. I see them clearly now. At the time, I buried them under excuses. She started volunteering more at the kindergarten. Extra meetings. Events she had to attend. She'd come home later than usual, glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years. I felt a weird mix of pride and insecurity. Once I joked, "What, you got a crush on the teacher or something?" She froze, just for a second, then laughed too hard and said, "Don't be ridiculous." That moment replays in my head constantly. She stopped touching me casually. No hand on my arm. No leaning against me in the kitchen. Sex became rare, then awkward. She said she was tired. I believed her because I wanted to. At night, she'd scroll her phone in bed, smiling softly. When I rolled closer, she'd lock the screen and turn away. I told myself I was paranoid. I wasn't paranoid. I was being replaced. What hurts most is how much emotional energy she had. Just not for me anymore. I trusted the version of her I married, not the one she was becoming. The doubt didn't hit like a thunderbolt. It crept in. One afternoon, I picked up our kids unexpectedly because she said she was sick. The teacher, him, smiled too warmly when he saw me. He said my wife's name like he knew it intimately, like it tasted familiar. "Tell her I hope she feels better," he said. Something twisted in my gut. That night, I checked her phone for the first time in our entire relationship. I hated myself for it. I still do. I didn't find explicit messages. That almost made it worse. Just emotionally loaded ones. Inside jokes. Late-night timestamps. Heart emojis disguised as support. One message read, "Today felt too short." I stared at it for a long time. My hands were shaking. I wanted an innocent explanation. I was desperate for one, but deep down, I knew. Once suspicion enters your marriage, it poisons everything. I didn't sleep that night. I watched her breathe and wondered who she was dreaming about. The real discovery was stupidly mundane. She asked me to print something from her email while she was showering. I clicked the wrong tab. A calendar invite popped up. Lunch. His name. A heart emoji. Weekly. My chest went tight. I felt dizzy. This wasn't flirtation. This was a routine. When she came out of the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, I asked her calmly, "Who is he?" She went pale. "What are you talking about?" she asked, already defensive. I turned the screen toward her. She didn't even try to deny it. She just sat down. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. That sentence ended my old life. She didn't dump the truth all at once. It came out slowly, like she was peeling off layers she had hoped to keep hidden forever. At first, she said it was just emotional, that they talked, that he listened, that it got complicated. I remember nodding, almost relieved for a split second, clinging to the idea that maybe my worst fear wasn't fully real. Then I asked the question I already knew the answer to. "Did you sleep with him?" She didn't answer immediately. She looked at the floor. Her hands were shaking. That silence felt longer than any argument we'd ever had. "Yes," she said quietly. "More than once." Something inside me cracked open. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a deep internal collapse, like the foundation of a building giving way. I asked how long. She said months. I asked where. She said sometimes after school, sometimes during lunch breaks, sometimes when she told me she was helping another parent. I couldn't stop imagining it. The classrooms, the empty hallways, my children's drawings on the walls while their mother was undressing for another man. I asked her if she loved him. She cried harder then. "I didn't mean to," she said. "But yes." That word echoed in my head like a gunshot. Love, not a mistake, not a one-time lapse. Love. I felt stupid, disposable, like I had been slowly replaced while still living under the same roof. She kept saying she never wanted to hurt me, that she was unhappy, that she felt lonely, that I wasn't there emotionally. I wanted to scream that she never told me she was drowning. She just found another lifeboat and let me sink. The hours after the revelation blur together in my memory. I remember pacing, sitting, standing, crying without realizing it. My body reacted before my mind caught up. Nausea, trembling. My chest felt tight, like I couldn't get a full breath. I thought I might be having a heart attack. I asked the same questions over and over, hoping the answers would change. They didn't. How could you do this to us? How could you look me in the eyes every day? How could you bring our kids into that place knowing what you were doing? She kept saying she compartmentalized it, that she could separate being a mother from being a woman. That hurt more than I expected. I felt humiliated in a way I didn't know was possible, like everyone must have known, like I was the last person in my own marriage to realize I was being betrayed. I felt rage toward him. This man who smiled at me, who shook my hand, who taught my kids songs while sleeping with their mother. But the anger toward her was worse, because she was the one who made vows to me. She was the one who chose secrecy every single day. At the same time, I hated myself for still loving her, for still wanting her comfort, for wishing she would take it all back and tell me it was a nightmare. Betrayal isn't just pain, it's contradiction. Wanting to run and wanting to cling at the same time. The confrontation didn't end that night. It stretched across days, then weeks. We talked in circles, we yelled, we whispered. Sometimes we sat in silence because there was nothing left to say without causing more damage. I asked her to end it, completely. No contact, no messages, no closure. She said she needed time. Time. I remember staring at her and thinking, "You already took time. You took months." She told me she felt controlled, that she had found herself again, that she wasn't sure who she was without him anymore. That sentence made me feel invisible, like our entire history had been erased by her need to feel alive. She also begged me not to tell anyone, not my parents, Not hers, not friends, not the school. She said it would ruin her reputation, that it would hurt the kids. I wanted to ask her why my pain mattered less than her image. I felt manipulated, like I was being asked to carry the weight of her choices to protect her from consequences. Every time she cried, I softened. Every time she defended the affair, I hardened again. I was emotionally exhausted. I didn't recognize myself anymore. The kids noticed before we said anything. They asked why Mom and Dad weren't sitting together anymore, why Mom slept in the guest room, why the house felt sad. We tried to be careful, to shield them, but kids feel everything. Every morning when my wife took them to kindergarten, my stomach twisted. I imagined them running into his arms, unaware of the secret, connecting him to their mother. I wanted to pull them out of that school immediately. She said I was overreacting, that it would disrupt their routine. I wondered how she could care so much about routine and so little about boundaries. When we finally explained that Mom and Dad were having serious problems, my son asked if it was his fault. That nearly destroyed me. I realized then that her affair didn't just break me. It cracked something in our children's sense of safety, too. I didn't tell anyone for a long time. I was embarrassed, ashamed, afraid people would see me as weak or inadequate. I smiled at coworkers. I answered fine when people asked how I was. Then I went home and sat in silence. She moved out temporarily, took a suitcase, left behind photos and unfinished conversations. The house felt wrong. Too big. Too empty. I replayed memories constantly, searching for the moment where I lost her, wondering if I could have prevented this if I'd been different. Loneliness isn't just being alone. It's feeling unseen in your pain. The fallout didn't come all at once. It unfolded slowly, awkwardly, like people tiptoeing around a bomb they weren't sure had gone off yet. Someone at the school noticed. I don't know who. Another parent maybe, a teacher. Doesn't really matter. Secrets like that don't stay buried forever, especially when they involve stolen glances, lunch breaks that run too long, and a married woman who suddenly looks at one specific man like he's oxygen. He was transferred quietly. No announcement. No explanation. 1 week he was there, the next week he wasn't. The school framed it as a staffing decision. My wife came home furious. She accused me of ruining her life, of sabotaging her happiness, of being bitter and vindictive. I just stared at her. I couldn't even form words at first. I hadn't contacted the school. I hadn't told anyone. I had protected her, even after everything. But facts didn't matter anymore. In her mind, I became the enemy, the obstacle standing between her and the life she thought she deserved. She cried about losing him, about how unfair it was, about how she finally felt understood, and now it was gone. I listened to my wife mourn another man. That moment broke something in me that never came back. I realized then that the affair wasn't just a mistake or a reaction to unhappiness. It was a choice she continued to defend even when it cost her family. I stopped arguing after that, not because I agreed with her, but because I finally understood that we were no longer on the same side. I didn't recognize myself anymore. I used to be steady, rational, the person people came to for advice. After everything happened, my mind became a hostile place. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing, replaying conversations, imagining scenarios, rewriting the past. I became obsessed with details, dates, times, messages I never saw. I blamed myself relentlessly. Maybe if I'd worked less, maybe if I'd listened more, maybe if I'd noticed sooner. Then I'd swing in the opposite direction and feel pure rage. How dare she put this on me? How dare she risk our children's stability for excitement? That back and forth was exhausting. Some days I felt completely numb. Other days I cried without warning. In the shower, in traffic, standing in the cereal aisle at the grocery store. I started questioning my own reality, wondering if I had imagined the closeness we once had, if our marriage had ever been as real as I thought it was. I finally started therapy, though it felt like admitting defeat. The therapist told me, Betrayal trauma messes with your sense of self. That helped a little. At least there was a name for the chaos. Still, the hardest part was realizing that healing would take longer than the relationship itself lasted. We're still separated, living parallel lives connected only by our children and unresolved history. She says she's confused, that she needs time to figure out who she is, that she doesn't want to make promises she can't keep. I hear those words and feel nothing but exhaustion. Sometimes she's warm, nostalgic, almost like the woman I married. Other times she's distant, defensive, cold. She says she still cares about me, that she doesn't want to hurt me anymore. I don't know what care means when trust is gone. We talk logistics, schedules, school events. We avoid emotions because they lead nowhere. I've stopped asking for clarity. I've accepted that she may never fully understand the damage she caused. Living in uncertainty is its own kind of grief. The damage didn't stop when the affair ended. It followed me into every interaction. I notice everything now. Tone shifts, delayed replies, hidden screens, innocent things that never used to register. I hate that about myself. I miss the version of me who trusted easily, who didn't need reassurance, who believed love was safe. Now even kindness makes me suspicious. I worry about what this is teaching my kids, about relationships, about stability, about forgiveness. I'm trying to break the cycle, to be present, to be honest without oversharing. But some nights, when the house is quiet, the weight of it all comes crashing back. Betrayal leaves scars you can't see, but you feel them every day. I don't know if this story has a clean ending. There's no big lesson that makes it all make sense. No silver lining that justifies the pain. I loved my wife fully. I trusted her completely. That wasn't a weakness, it was a risk. And risks sometimes end badly. If there's anything I've learned, it's this. When someone starts living a separate emotional life, the relationship is already in danger. And when they choose secrecy over honesty, the damage is inevitable. I'm still rebuilding. Slowly, carefully, with more boundaries than I ever thought I'd need. Some days I feel hopeful. Other days I feel permanently altered. This experience changed how I see love, trust, and myself. I don't know who I'll be on the other side of this, but I know I'm still here. And for now, that has to be enough.